Hello and welcome to another Overlord theory video, and today we will speculate whether or not Princes Renner would have been able to save the Kingdom of Re-Estize from the Empire's annual wars, from a corrupt power-hungry nobility, and of course from Ainz Ooal Gown's own might. But before we are going to do so, let me thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. Also, please check out my fantasy channel, it's linked down in the description. Now, with all of that said, let's dive into the video. And first and foremost, we get the boring part out of the way, namely whether or not Renner could have saved the kingdom from the Great Tomb of Nezarec, and the answer is no. And yes, if Ainz Ooal Gown decided to destroy the kingdom, there was nothing Renner could do to militarily resist the invasion. All of her intellect would be neglectable, because she would lack the tools in the form of a powerful military to defend against Ainz Ooal Gown's might. So if Ainz Ooal Gown wants to see her dead, then Renner would die, and her kingdom with her. And on the other hand, if Renner saw how fast Emperor Jerknef had offered the Empire as a vassal state, then Renner would be able to do the same thing. Renner could strike an even better deal because she has something that Nezarec craves, her unfathomable intelligence, and therefore she might be able and willing to strike a way better deal, and maybe receive the means to become immortal. So in this timeline she too would live together forever with Climb, but likely she would just receive another form of immortality. Instead of becoming an imp, she would become an immortal human, just like Auriel Omega, the youngest of the Pleiades, has. But in turn she wouldn't be invited into the Great Tomb of Nezarec. Instead she would rule the kingdom together with Climb. And while she still would be very heavily guarded, it doesn't come close to the same safety that the Great Tomb of Nezarec could provide. But the more interesting question in my opinion would be if Renner could take power and then defend the kingdom against the imperial aggression of Jerknef. And the first task of Renner would be to become queen, and while she had the support of the people, the aristocracy had their own favorites, namely Zarnak and Crown Prince Barbro, and at least Barbro needed to be taken care of, and Renner would be able to manipulate Barbro in order for him to charge headlessly against a strong enemy in the annual war. And perhaps Renner, over the course of months, would be supportive of her sibling and feed Barbro heroic tales of a young, tall and handsome prince who won the right to rule, the very throne he craved, by using his valor in battle to sway the nobles to his own side. And once Barbro had run into a spear wall, or into the arms of one of the 4 imperial knights, then he would be gone. And maybe his body taken captive by Jerknef, in order to prevent resurrection and pressure the kingdom. And Renner could then just slip some poison into the tea of his father. Perhaps she will even use a lighter dose for herself, in order to fall mildly sick, only to then be healed by Lachius of the Blue Roses. And perhaps for some reason the resurrection of the king fails, maybe because someone had burned the body before, maybe because of the poison. But anyway, the culprit must have been someone who had intimate access to the king's most private places. Someone who would stand to profit from all of this death, and therefore Prince Zarnak, the unpopular half-brother, would be framed as the culprit and likely hanged for regicide, which then would mean that the throne would be empty, and Renner could usurp it, thus putting herself into power. Now I also believe that Renner would be very smart about all of it, and just keep calling herself a princess, insisting that women are not fit to rule, and that a new king needed to be chosen from all of the relatives, all of the great houses, and from the royal family itself. This would do 2 things. It would allow Renner to become the de facto queen of Re-Estize. Without calling herself queen, she would still be a woman, and thus most nobles wouldn't see her as anything more than a placeholder, until they figured out whom to crown. And this would also lead to some quite intense power struggle, while Marquis Raven would support Rana as a temporary placeholder in order to stabilize her reign, most of the nobles would now struggle to find a suitable candidate for the throne, because the royal faction and the noble faction of Re-Estize had rallied behind two different heirs to the throne. Crown Prince Barbaro was supported by the great nobles, while Zarnak was supported by the royalist faction, which led to the great divide at court in the first place. And when two people feud, there's always a third party that stands ready to profit from all of this. Rana would be the de facto queen, while the royal and the noble faction would blockade themselves, while they still struggle to find a suitable heir to manipulate in their favor. All the while, Rana could amass power behind the scene. In the canon timeline, Rana had been able to befriend the strongest remaining man in the kingdom, Ainz Anglaus, as well as the entirety of Blue Roses. But since the massacre of the Cuts Plain did not happen in this timeline, Rana could also count on the aid of Gazav Stronov and his elite warriors, as well as on Westercloth the Leuven and his disciples. Together with Marquis Raven and the popular support, this is quite a power base. And Rana could also manipulate the twin assassins into coming up with a proposal of their very own. They now want to help to assassinate any dangerous political leaders. And after everyone talks, sends it to Rana, who of course would pretend to be against all of this, at least in the first place, then she with a heavy heart will eventually order some assassinations in order to keep the peace, of course. But before anything can be done about the Empire, the Eight Fingers needed to be dealt with. Luckily, Gazav, Vester, Brain, Climb, and the Blue Roses are behind the Golden Princess, and even Gargaran was supposedly strong enough to beat Zero, and a legendary figure called Evil Eye, or rather Landfall, would also have an easy time defeating enforcers like the undead King Davanok, if Lakios' healing ability isn't enough to take care of him. Because think about it, the reviving spell she uses to bring people back from the dead could also be used as an insta-death spell against Davanok and other liches. And of course, the destruction of the Eight Fingers, or at least the beheading of the leadership, would also give access to a wide list of noble supporters of the Eight Fingers. Now, I don't believe that Rana would have all of them executed, but rather she would use these evidences as blackmail in order to ensure that she gains more and more control over yet more nobles. And with that said, I've learned the first part of the video, and next time we will take a look at how Rana could defeat the Empire of Barut, even when, just like in the canon timeline, she will face 6 full legions. But until then, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Arder Daddy Arder, Badger Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Thralshivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Moreno, Hoss, Haster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch wie Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Love Razor, Merovek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Primus 11, Cune Caracos P, Cher Gox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, die Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, The Short Guy, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.